Imagine this, a soft drink company owning a fleet of naval warships. Sounds like a joke? Well, in 1989, PepsiCo found itself in possession of an unusual navy, not by conquest or global conflict, but by a bizarre trade deal during the last days of the Cold War. Pepsi wanted to sell soft drinks in the Soviet Union, but the USSR had very limited access to cash, so instead of paying in money, they offered vodka, yes, the famous Stolichnaya. At first glance, it seems simple. Pepsi gives soda, gets vodka. Problem solved? Not quite. As markets shifted and politics danced around like a confused ballerina, the deal took a cartoonish twist. The Soviets, in a move straight out of a comic strip, offered decommissioned naval ships instead of cash or vodka. Among them were submarines, cruisers, and even a destroyer. For a brief moment, Pepsi, the soft drink giant, technically became one of the largest naval powers on the planet, a headline perfect for a "wait, what?" meme. But here's the punchline. The ships were old, falling apart, and barely seaworthy. They weren't battle-ready, more like giant floating paperweights. Pepsi didn't launch a Pepsi Navy into global conflict. Instead, they sold the ships to scrap to a Norwegian company, probably turning more profit than any submarine could sink. Yet the idea of a soda company commanding submarines captured imaginations worldwide. The lesson here isn't just about business. It's about perception, strategy, and how history can take a bizarre detour. But the story doesn't end here. While some might chuckle at the notion of a corporate navy, the next twist reveals something even stranger. A soft drink, a former superpower, and old ships all colliding in the waning days of the Cold War. And here's the real question. Could a simple soda trade secretly affect global perception or even military history without firing a single shot? Stick around because the next part will reveal just how absurd yet oddly real this story becomes.
So imagine you're a CEO of a beverage empire. One moment you're discussing carbonated flavors, the next your finance team casually says, "By the way, we now own submarines." Wait, what? Submarines? Not vending machines, not trucks, but actual war machines? Now try to picture the logistical nightmare. How do you even manage decommissioned Soviet submarines? Where do you dock them? How do you staff them? You hired soda experts, not sailors. And if you thought Pepsi trucks had long routes, these submarines required entire oceans of paperwork, literally. News outlets went wild. Headlines screamed, "Pepsi Navy, from cola to Cold War submarines." Cartoonists had a field day. Imagine a tiny soda can standing on a massive battleship, waving at the camera. Memes were born before memes were even a thing. CEOs and generals exchanged baffled looks. Was this genius, madness, or just absurd history playing a prank? Here's the subtle humor. The Pepsi Navy never fired a shot. It never engaged in combat. It existed mostly on paper and in headlines. And yet, the very idea of it made history textbooks a little more fun. Imagine a naval officer inspecting a submarine and asking, "Sir, where are the soda cans?" But the story doesn't stop with just funny headlines. While most think the tale ends with selling the ships for scrap, there's a twist. Some of the vessels had secret technology, some had classified designs, and some simply became tourist attractions. Yes, submarines you could technically call part of the Cold War, but in the hands of a soda company. So the question remains, could a simple trade of soda and vodka somehow influence politics, technology, or even international perception without anyone firing a bullet? Stay tuned, because the next part will reveal how absurdity, strategy, and history collide in ways you wouldn't expect.
Now here's where it gets weirder. While most companies would avoid politics, Pepsi somehow found itself in an unexpected diplomatic role. Negotiations with foreign governments? Check. Meetings with Soviet officials? Check. And all this while marketing teams were still trying to sell Pepsi Light in vending machines. Imagine a soda company team balancing war strategy and flavor testing simultaneously. The submarines became a bizarre mix of war machines and publicity stunts. Tourists could sometimes board decommissioned vessels. There were guides in crisp Pepsi uniforms explaining the history, while pointing to tiny bits of technology no one could understand. Kids would ask, "Can I press the red button?" And guides would nervously say, Sure, maybe not." And then came the odd encounters. Other navies weren't sure how to react. Was Pepsi testing weapons?
Or was this a PR stunt gone too far? In one famous story, a French admiral reportedly asked a Pepsi exec, "Are you serious?" And the CEO, probably thinking about the next flavor campaign, replied, "Absolutely." The humor in history persisted. Manuals that should have described propulsion systems sometimes had diagrams labeled soda storage. Engineers scratched their heads, historians chuckled, and the absurdity cemented the story in pop culture. A cola brand had inadvertently created one of the quirkiest naval anecdotes ever recorded. But hold on, if you think this was all harmless fun, think again. Some of these submarines were still equipped with military-grade systems, and rumors circulated about secret exchanges, classified documents, and a few incidents that could have made international headlines if anyone had taken them seriously. So can you imagine a soft drink influencing global security? The answer lies in the next part, where we explore how absurdity, ambition, and strategy collide under the banner of bubbles, bureaucracy, and submarines.
So, the plot thickens. By now, Pepsi had unwittingly turned submarines into symbols of both corporate audacity and absurdity. Competitors watched, baffled, unsure whether to laugh, panic, or write angry memos. It was marketing genius or sheer madness, perhaps a bit of both. Inside the submarines, engineers kept testing limits. Some experiments were technical: endurance dives, submerged maneuvers, and emergency drills. Others, let's say, refreshing breaks. Yes, soda breaks. Nothing like a cold Pepsi at 200 feet below sea level to lift morale or create slippery decks and panicked sailors. And naturally, the media got wind of it. Headlines screamed, "Pepsi launches secret navy," or "Cola fleet causes international confusion." Cartoonists had a field day. Memes spread faster than soda fizz. And just like that, what was meant to be strategic innovation became an international comedy show. Here's the twist. Diplomats started treating Pepsi executives as unofficial envoys. Imagine a room full of ambassadors discussing trade deals while one slides a Pepsi can across the table as a peace offering. "Take two," they said. "Make it fizzy," they said. And somehow it worked. But here's the kicker. Some insiders hinted at secret missions, late-night operations, and exchanges with other nations' military personnel. Was it espionage, corporate mischief, or just wildly over-engineered PR? The truth is, nobody really knows, and that's what keeps the legend alive. In the next part, we'll see how chaos, ambition, and soda collide in ways that could only happen with Pepsi in the driver's seat, or should we say, the captain's chair.
By now, the Pepsi submarines had become notorious enough that even rival soda companies were sending spies, or maybe interns, to see what all the fuss was about. Some engineers, exhausted from constant experiments, jokingly considered putting flavor enhancers in the periscope lenses. Imagine spotting the enemy through cherry cola goggles. Then came the mishaps. A soda fountain malfunctions during a simulated battle drill. Carbonation sprays everywhere. The crew slips and slides, resembling a slapstick comedy more than a military exercise. Someone accidentally launches a life preserver into the control panel. Chaos reigns. And somewhere in the mess, a junior officer notes, "I think we're officially the fizziest Navy in history." International coverage escalates. News anchors laugh nervously while reporting, "Pepsi's fleet, the ultimate mix of innovation and hilarity." Online commentators debate if the submarines could double as floating soda dispensers. Memes evolve. Suddenly, Submarine Pepsi Challenge trends globally. Companies scramble to respond, half confused, half terrified. But beneath the jokes, something serious brews. A classified mission emerges, a top-secret delivery of rare cola syrup to an Allied outpost. The crew navigates underwater obstacles, technical failures, and morale-challenging soda spills. The tension builds. Soda and strategy collide. And yes, someone continues slipping on fizzy decks, much to everyone's chagrin. And just when you think the story has reached its fizzy climax, reports surface about an unexpected encounter with a rival naval team. Was it a battle, a prank, or a surreal mix of both? The details remain murky. In the final part, we'll discover how Pepsi's naval experiment concludes and the surprising lessons learned from mixing soda, submarines, and sheer audacity.
The Pepsi submarines finally approach the target outpost. Crew members are sticky from soda spills, goggles fogged, and tempers fizzing like an over-carbonated cola. Remember, the captain warns, this mission is serious. Mostly. Someone whispers, "Mostly serious? Should we bring marshmallows for morale?" Suddenly, the rival naval team appears. They're armed with old torpedoes and suspiciously large bottles of root beer. A tense moment. Then both sides pause and glance at the soda cans. Laughter erupts. For a split second, the war turns into an awkward beverage tasting contest. Amid the chaos, the top-secret syrup delivery happens flawlessly. The Allied outpost cheers. A junior crew member accidentally sprays everyone with cola in celebration. The captain sighs. At least no one has started fermenting in the torpedo room, yet. In the debriefing, the crew reflects. Mistakes were made, chaos ensued, but innovation and a bit of humor saved the day. They learn, discipline matters, but so does laughter, and never underestimate the power of a fizzy beverage in the wrong hands. Finally, as the submarines retreat under the waves, a mysterious rumor spreads. A secret rival plan involving lemon-lime soda is brewing. Could there be another fizzy naval showdown? Will marshmallows be involved next time? Only time will tell. The story of Pepsi's naval adventure ends, for now. Heroes, bubbles, laughter, and syruped chaos. And as the crew cleans sticky decks and shares exaggerated stories, one truth remains. History is always better with a splash of humor and soda.